Who likes snow days? Hands up. All right, we got it here. I do too. I should have thrown my hand way up there right at the beginning. I've liked them my whole life. I even liked them as a minister, as a grown-up, because once in a while, they even happen for us, closing church. Not a lot, but once in a while. I remember when I was a kid, I had a little radio beside my bed, so on those days when we thought maybe there could be a snow day, at the crack of dawn, I'd be listening to that. And I still listen to those early forecasts, but sometimes now watching the scroll on the television because my two daughters both work in schools. So I'm interested in whether they'll have a snow day. And one thing that I've learned recently is that this did not happen when I was a kid, for those of you youngsters who are here. But I've learned that there are a number of tricks to entice snow days into happening. Didn't know about it back when I was a kid, but anybody do any of those tricks that maybe you really hope that a snow day will make it happen? What's one of them?
Put a spoon under your pillow.
The number one answer. Bingo. The spoon under your pillow.
You know the things.
Yeah, back there.
Where if you take inside out or backwards and put the next
There's two more. Your pajamas, wear it inside out, and an ice cube in the toilet.
We play outside.
So that's what you get to do if you have one.
So what do you do to...
You haven't learned those yet? That's okay. Anybody else got any other ones?
$20 bill under your desk.
Right. Here we go. There's just a couple others which I have learned. Let's see. Do the snow dance.
Oh,
Know that one? Yeah. Don't know that one. So. Leave ice cubes on the porch is another one. New to me. And this was, I thought, one of the strange ones. Place a white crayon in your freezer. Yeah, there you go. So I bet a lot of white crayons will be in people's freezers tonight, maybe, I don't know. Or then run around your table 5 times. That's the other one. Run around your table, flushing the ice cube down the toilet. Yeah, I think that covers it. Did you have another one?
put a spoon or a fork in the freezer.
A spoon or a fork in the freezer? Don't know for sure about that one. Yeah.
Teachers twirl around 3 times and say, yod wands, yod wands, yod wands. You're just snow day backwards.
Teachers have their own snow day. Beautiful. There might be a whole sermon in this. But it made me think a little bit about the kind of faith that kids have in things in life and in the world. That, well, maybe it doesn't necessarily make something happen. Like sometimes we think of praying for something or something, but sometimes having faith that maybe if I just put this white crayon in the freezer, just that will contribute to this great thing about a snow day. Maybe, I don't know. But it puts your heart and soul and mind kind of in connection with one another. A way that you sort of wish for and hope for something good to happen. And, well, kids are good at doing that. I think adults have their own things that they do to sort of find places and ways that faith can live in their life. And a big part of that, I think, is showing up at a place like this with some regularity. Not necessarily being sure that your being here is going to make those things that you deeply want and wish for in the world definitely happen, but it helps you align yourself with the energy of a crowd of people who are all wishing, hoping, and having faith in similar things, that the world can be a special and good place. So in some ways, as usual, the kids are our teachers. So thank you, youngsters, who have gotten those wonderful ideas about how snow days might come about. And I appreciate that. And so continue to sort of have the faith, either in the snow day or this terrific place. We're going to sing together. I invite you to join with me in a time of reflection and quiet, of centering and prayer. In this familiar place, listen. Listen to the sounds of breathing, creaking chairs, shuffling feet, clearing throats, children downstairs, and sighing all around. Know that each breath, each movement, each glance meant for you or intercepted holds a whole life within it. These are signs that we choose to be in this company, that we have things to say to each other, things not yet said, but in each other's presence, trembling behind our heart's door. These doors that are closed but unlocked, with each silent thing waiting on the threshold between unknowing and knowing, between being hidden and being known. Find the silence among these people and listen to it all. The breathing, the sighing, the laughter, the movement, the holding back. Hear even the tears that have not yet reached their eyes, and perhaps they are your own. And hear also the laughter that builds deep within us, where joy abides despite everything. Let us listen, and let us rejoice. In a shared silence, may we hold all of the life that is present among us, listening for its source and affirming its meaning. May we share this time briefly of quiet. Even in the quiet, we are aware of life. And we celebrate that. Amen. Shalom. May it be so.
Hoping my sermon title, Get Lost, people didn't take too literally on their way to church this morning, so I'm really glad you all are here. I want to tell you how wonderful it's been to know and get to know so many of you over the last 18 months. You've let me into your lives in such beautiful and special ways. And so I'm going to return the favor today and let you into mine just a bit. I'm going to tell you a little secret about me. I have a slight obsession with office supplies. Yes, it's true. My version of heaven looks a lot like Staples, with rows of rainbow Post-its and highlighters the shade of every flower, and a perfect paper pathway lined with notebooks and folders, rather than that silly street of gold idea. Index cards, mechanical pencils, even striped paper clips. Not pearly gates bring me joy. I should know I have enough of them. Part of the reason why I love these items so much is that they help me believe that I am organized, which I aspire to be. My office supplies assure me that I have the right tools, then somehow my life will be plotted along like kind of connecting the dots with a ruler on graph paper. Oh, if only my life could fit on graph paper, I would be so pleased. But alas, as you may have guessed, these mostly square-shaped organizational tools do not actually prevent me from feeling disorganized at times. They don't keep my life and all its clutter constricted to graph paper. And sometimes they even frustrate me because no amount of them can contain or shape the chaos that is life. These supplies might help me feel efficient, but pen, pencil, paper, Post-it have yet to perform any magic tricks for me. And so, of course, I found another tool for that, which you may have also, my miracle of a smartphone. Now I would never be disorganized or lost again, right? Less than 2 years owning one of these devices, and I'm pretty sure that I have forgotten how to read a regular map and can no longer navigate on my own. But unfortunately, this piece of equipment doesn't always help me, as you might imagine. My smartphone seems to fail me most when I feel lost. You know, the type of lost when you or your map know exactly where you are. The type of lost where you can see your feet on the ground but not the path ahead of you. The type of lost that creates your own personal wilderness. And lately I've been feeling that type of lost. Some of you know that I'm going to be ordained in May and that I'm ending my internship here in June. And I don't know what is next yet. And many of you have very politely been asking me questions about that, which is normal and fine and wonderful. But I've not been able to give you many concrete answers. I've said things like, oh, I'm discerning a lot of options, true but vague. Or, I'm excited by so many different possibilities. Or even, no, I'm not going into search to find a congregation to serve. That I know for sure right now. And these answers might not be what you all have expected, but they are true nonetheless. Once summer hits, I am in full-on transition. And I'm not looking for any sympathy by telling you all this, or any job leads. I promise I'm doing my part on that front. What I am looking for is companions on this journey of being lost. And I'm wondering if any of you have experienced this as well. Yeah, none of you. Nope.
I'm getting some yeses from over there.
Can you recall that time in your life when you didn't know what was next? You didn't recognize where you were physically or emotionally? Maybe it was a lost job, a lost relationship, a lost role in your life, or just a season of time where you couldn't seem to put one foot in front of the other. And I guarantee that it was a time in your life that your smartphone or even a regular map could not help you figure your way out of it. And if you're like me and have the urge to feel some degree of control in your life and how it unfolds, then this feeling is pretty difficult. Sadness, anger, uncertainty, anxiety all show up as unwanted guests. And I'm really not a fan of having any one of them in my house, let alone when they all gang up together. And to top it off, our North American culture, most of the time, strongly urges us to avoid being lost at all costs. Instead, I know, it's very upsetting. Instead, we emphasize efficiency and staying on track. I mean, you wouldn't buy a car that was advertised as inefficient or guaranteed to get you lost. Nor do most of us, or would most of us, take a long wandering road to work or church or home when a direct route gets us there quicker. Getting lost is not efficient, not productive, at least not how most things are measured, and not really a sign of success in our culture, and obviously success is what we're told to seek after. We have lots of words and phrases we use on ourselves and one another when we feel lost. And you may have heard some of these before. Snap out of it. Get moving. Or maybe even wake up. Whereas the only phrase we really have to counter those is get lost, which is usually an insult. And there's a lot of shame that comes with this being and feeling lost, which is probably why we don't talk about it that much. No one asks, "How are you?" and expects to receive the answer, "I'm feeling lost. How are you doing?" We don't even have a lot of current role models or leaders who talk about times when they were lost or how they might even be lost right now. But lucky for us, we do have many sacred stories about this lost art. And these tales fill the void our society has left wide open about lostness and its benefits to our faith. And I'll skim over just a few of them for you, which you may be familiar. There's the story of the Hebrew people in Exodus. Moses leads them out of slavery and oppression in Egypt towards this unknown promised land. And these people wandered in the desert for 40 years. I mean, obviously Moses did not have a GPS. Sometimes they turned on each other, they struggled and doubted their leader, they got in trouble with God, and yet somehow they made it to their new home, even without their hero and wilderness guide. That's one story. Then there's the story of the 40 days that Jesus spent in the desert. Maybe he was a slightly better navigator. He didn't have as many people with him. But regardless, he spent his time, which is marked and celebrated during the season of Lent coming up, being tested by the devil, and I imagine maybe sticking his head in the sand a bit. And of course, there's that 20-odd years of his life where we just don't have any knowledge about very much, and so maybe he was wandering and lost a little bit then. We don't know. And lastly, from our pagan roots, the story behind Imbolc, this earth-centered holiday, which birthed Groundhog Day, which we celebrated last week. We're at that exact halfway point between the winter solstice and the spring equinox, a time when we feel pretty lost in the depths of winter. I couldn't ask for a better picture to be painted. But Imbolc actually tells us that even though things on the ground seem dead and cold, there's actually this movement and life that's brewing beneath the surface of it all. I know that's pretty hard to imagine right now. But Imbolc represents this turning point in our season, telling us that all is not lost, even when appearances might say otherwise. All of these sources from which we draw wisdom point us toward accepting or even celebrating feeling a little lost. And it turns out getting lost can actually deepen and enrich our faith a little bit. Because isn't it a little bit easier to have faith when things are going pretty well for us? When you're healthy, employed, and happy, and your family and partner is the same. It's easier to see and affirm the sacred in the everyday and ordinary of our lives, something our UU faith articulates so beautifully, when our lives feel on track. But it's much harder to find and acknowledge that sacred in our everyday life when we can't even see what's in front of us. When we've lost not only our map, but our way in the world. And I find it hard to acknowledge the holy working in those moments sometimes. But it's those kind of moments, like I'm in right now, that usually send me deeper into my faith and deeper into connection with myself. I journal more, walk more, pray more when I'm in my own personal wilderness. I reach out to those I love more who might be able to help hold this feeling of being lost. And it's when I go deeper into lostness that I come to realize that these lost moments and seasons of time are just as holy as the found ones. And that's likely why people continue to write about this experience of being lost. One of those people who speaks to me is Barbara Brown Taylor. She's an author and Episcopal priest who writes that getting lost is valuable and undervalued. In her book entitled An Altar in the World, Taylor highlights getting lost as actually a spiritual practice itself. She highlights other things as well, such as paying attention or wearing skin or walking on the earth. She says that getting lost is what takes us off autopilot. And I know you guys know what I'm talking about. You've driven from point A to point B so many times you can kind of do it with your eyes closed. You go through the motions of something without kind of giving it your full attention. I do it every day. Autopilot, Taylor argues, can leave us unconscious, and getting lost can bring us back to conscious living. And she writes that traveling is sometimes the easiest way for her to be and feel lost. And I noticed this as well because every book on being lost is in the travel section of the library. They actually lost one of the books I was looking for. Taylor says, though, you're bound to make a wrong turn coming out of your door when you're in a new place. And when this happens, she says she prefers to ask for directions rather than consult her map. But she says, whatever you do in those moments, the point is to give up on the sufficiency of your own resources. Giving up on the sufficiency of our own resources. I'm not sure we even know how to do that. I certainly have a lot of trouble, because that confirms what I've been thinking, that there are problems and ways of being lost in the world that even my precious office supplies and smartphone can't get me out of. I received this small pack of cards for Christmas from my dad. They're entitled Extra Soul Support, 42 inspired messages to support your well-being. This was a stocking stuffer with substance, I should say. And on the back of the pack it reads, for those times when you don't have a clue what to do next, in your painting, song, novel, relationship, business, life. Great for artists, yoga practitioners, coaches, therapists, healers, teachers, dreamers. Great. Consider a problem or ask a question about an issue in your life. Choose one or more of the cards, and then wholeheartedly do what the card suggests. They make it sound so nice and so nicely packaged. But really, this is just kind of a more artistic and updated version of a magic 8-ball. And the last time I put a decision in the hands of that device, I got the result that I'd marry my 7th grade crush and be on Broadway. And needless to say, neither of those things have happened, thankfully. Yeah. Yes, thank you. But I decided to give this, to give a try of, giving up on the sufficiency of my own resources and give this extra soul support a fair trial. And so I gave it the question, what am I going to do next? Pretty simple. I was just asking this pack of cards to tell me what my life will look like after June. I thought that was very reasonable. And I was expecting something encouraging, like follow your bliss. Or maybe I was even hoping for something more concrete, like make a nice pro-con list, which I don't think is in the cards at all. But instead, as I fished out a card that would guide me out of my lost place, I drew this one. Gigi, will you read it for me?
Stop struggling. Yeah.
That's not what I wanted. I wanted to do something. I wanted to create a plan or make one of those visioning boards I've seen on Pinterest, or collage something, or do anything that made me feel less lost. Stop struggling. Well, that was something else entirely. If I were to stop struggling, that would mean I have to surrender to feeling lost. I'd have to admit that I am a little lost. I'd have to suddenly pay attention to where I am and simply be there rather than distract myself or continue to do things I thought were productive and efficient. And what would that look like? To just stop, be lost, acknowledge that we don't know what there might be to know in this moment, in the future. Well, obviously I'm still figuring out what that means for me, and I hope that you all, some of my other lost companions, will take the time to stop and figure out what it means for you. For some of us, I imagine it means sitting and finding that deep stillness. For others, it might mean that walk in the woods, feeling the wind on your face, feeling the sun on your back. And yet for others, it might mean praying or breathing deeply or engaging in whatever it is that helps you tap into what's really happening beneath the surface, to what new life might be ready to emerge in the next season of time in your journey. And in writing this wandering sermon, which I hope you don't feel more lost after listening to, and in trying to discern what is next for me, I'm reminded of a poem that I want to share with you all as we begin to close. It's one that continues to pop up in my life, and so I've decided to pay a little better attention to it. It is appropriately entitled Lost by David Wagner. Why don't you just take a deep breath as we listen. Stand still. The trees ahead and bushes beside you are not lost. Wherever you are is called here, and you must treat it as a powerful stranger. Must ask permission to know it and be known. The forest breathes. Listen. It answers, I have made this place around you. If you leave it, you may come back again, saying here. No two trees are the same to raven. No two branches are the same to wren. If what a tree or bush does is lost on you, you are surely lost. Stand still. The forest knows where you are. You must let it find you. Being lost is a powerful stranger, one that asks us to continually deepen our faith. And the feelings that we feel in the wilderness that we're in are not just a nuisance. They're teaching us something that texts and teachers of old have been trying to help us learn again and again. That it's okay to feel lost. That in fact being lost will serve your soul if you regard it well. So it's my hope that we can surrender to the moments and circumstances and seasons of time when we are lost. May we stop struggling and stand still long enough to discover the sacred in being lost. Stand still long enough to let faith become our compass. Stand still long enough to let the forest find us. And may we continue to seek out companions as we wander in and out of these lost places together. May it be so. Amen.
Join us for worship every Sunday at 10 a.m. at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Canandaigua, a welcoming congregation. We are located at 3024 Cooley Road, 4 miles west of South Main Street, Canandaigua, just north of the intersection with Routes 5 and 20. Look for the blue signs just before the turn. Your comments about this program or questions about the church are welcome at 585-396-1370 or at our website, www.canandaiguauu.org. Producer and editor, Daniel Brigham.